Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in our studio Mr. Russell Cato, a retired educator with 40 plus years of experience here in Pinellas County, and Mr. Jamie Wilson III, a healthcare provider with more than 25 years of experience as a physical therapist, my co-host. We're very pleased and honored to have Mr. Jabar Edmond, one of the founders and hosts of the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club that airs 3 mornings a week on 99.1 FM, The Berg. Mr. Edmond, get it right, Ray, recently received a formal notice of praise and celebration for his extensive work in our community. Jabar, welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast.
Yes, thank y'all so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
All right, most definitely. On Thursday, May 9th, the St. Petersburg City Council held discussions about the Tropicana Field development plan. The discussions involved council members questioning specific components of the plan, and Jabar is going to share with us what he heard and his many thoughts about those comments. Jabar, did you get a sense of where various council members are leaning on this project?
I think we got the biggest look or the best look that we have so far as to the council members and what they're thinking about this deal. I think that I don't think the Rays, HINES, or the city did a good job. I think they kind of fumbled the ball. You know, after you do a big presentation in a meeting like this, you usually go back and you do what they call pluses and deltas.
Yeah.
You know, I think they had a lot of deltas.
Most definitely.
I think they had a lot of out points. It wasn't sharp. And this is not me criticizing them or like personally or nothing.
Right.
But just the delivery for the gravity of this deal, for how big this is for our city, our state, if not the country. I don't think the presentation was A1. I don't think they delivered. There was a lot of unanswered questions.
Excellent.
That I felt should have been prepared for.
Excellent.
I think there was a lot of moments. There was a lot of silence in between. It was like you could hear it in the air, and I think it would have served for them to be better prepared. I don't know if it was because of the postponing of the stadium conversation, and then maybe that was a shakeup. But I think for how big this is, I think we need to have it. Just needs to be sharper. It needs to be crisper.
Jabar, that's a pretty good summary of the question. That was a pretty good summary. And we're going to move right along because I'm going to identify specific council members and things that they said and get your comments, such as Lisette Hanowitz said, quote, "There is no way I can do this agreement. We don't know who we're entering into agreement with. We don't have any information about the joint venture, who the partners are, how they're capitalized. That is critical, absolutely critical information. Bear in mind, she is the attorney on city council, and she delved deeply into the contract to come up with these concerns. What are your thoughts?"
I think she did a great job. I think as a council member, she really represented her district well. She also represented the city well.
Excellent.
She had some thoughtful questions, and it was tenacious. It did feel like grilling, but I think there is negotiation decorum, right? And just like there's no decorum in like city proceedings.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, because this is city council, they get their decorums mixed up. That's why the cow, if you notice, the cow is downstairs in that negotiating room, because it's supposed to be some tough questions. It's supposed to be some back and forth. And I think when we can get past the niceties and the platitudes and the great jobs, it was every bit of 30, 40 minutes of great jobs and good jobs. Good job, y'all did a good job. Good job. Hey, yeah, I just want to say you did a good job. Hey, great job, good job. And at one point, I say, if it was me, if I was the chair, I would say, hey, y'all, thank y'all, good job this one time for everybody sitting here. So now, when we get into this conversation, we'll get into the business of the people, and we don't have to say how nice. We can talk about how nice we are to each other in the hallway. I can see you at a Rays game in one of those suites that they providing. We can talk about those things there. But once we enter into like those agreement in those chambers, I think it needs to be more time spent on the meat and potatoes.
Wow, right. Well said. Well said. Moving right along, unless you have something to say, Russ.
No, I like what you said.
Jamie?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, great. Okay, let's move on. Richie Floyd, Council Member Richie Floyd said, quote, I want to see that the subsidy we're giving them pays for affordable housing. Not that we need to pay more money for affordable housing. You have any comments?
I think he hit a home run with that one. And no pun intended, but I think he hit a home run, because in everybody's mind, this is going to be an affordable housing deal.
Yes.
For our understanding, this deal was restructured to be an affordable housing deal.
Right. Yes.
That's why they say they went from 800 units to 1,200 or whatever number they're sitting at now, because it was a housing deal.
Yes.
And to say that we will have to pay more. So this city council has to agree to maybe $600 million or more in bonds and everything. And then the next city council potentially will have to say, okay, well, we will subsidize more housing for you to get the housing. And then if you don't, is that a default? That's what I was thinking. So what if the next council says, okay, the budget is tight, we didn't hit the 7% target that we were targeting for the taxes, and we don't have the revenue to pay for new subsidies? And if they say no, does that collapse, or do we default on the deal because we didn't perform our part?
Right.
Because I don't think it's smart for us to enter into this deal without gaining revenue.
Right.
We're entering into a business deal with, some of the biggest businesses in the world, really. HINES is one of the biggest businesses in the world. Yeah. And they're calling us our partners, but we don't get a partnership share of the money.
Excellent.
Right. There's no partnership percentages.
It's not.
Hit it on the head.
Yes, no benefit.
Partnership by name only. And I told somebody this, and they said I was wrong for saying it, but any partnership you enter in and you don't share in the profits, then it's pimping.
It's pimping.
That's pimping.
My word exactly.
If I'm doing the work and we're putting up the sweat equity and we're putting up the infrastructure, because there's deals that go on where the city doesn't pay for the infrastructure.
Okay.
The developer pays for the infrastructure.
Right. And the reason we're being pimped, from the way it sounds from this deal, is because we seem so desperate to have a team.
Yeah.
We seem so desperate and weak to have a team.
And
we're going to get pimped if that's the case.
And I'm going to come back to that comment.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Boy, we're rolling right along. A lot of the critics to this development agreement suggest that there are no guarantees at all that affordable housing will be built.
Loopholes.
No guarantees at all that affordable housing will be built. What you say, Jabar?
So when I was watching the meeting, I watched the 8 hours. I actually have watched it maybe 2 times now. The minimum requirement, the minimum development requirements. And see, this is where it gets tricky, because they have a presentation, and then they have an impact report, and then they have a development agreement. Inside of the development agreement is the minimum requirement to satisfy the agreement. But the presentation and the impact report are based on the highest and most lofty of goals. So it's like they're selling us a dream. And they got us looking at the amazing pictures, the amazing renderings, but the agreement says they have to do very little of what you see in that picture.
Right.
They have to do very little as regards to fulfilling what we feel that we're entering this deal for.
Right.
So I think that, I mean, they need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
It may take another 6 months to a year to write it. You might have to scratch the 2028 opening game. You might have to do it at the Trop.
Right.
You might have to take this back to the drawing board and really invest the time that's needed, because having the developer write the terms, because when they were asking about the language, there's a moment in the video and they say, who wrote this language? And it was a quiet. And then he said, oh, the raised HINES.
Oh my God. So what is our
It was like the raised HINES.
Yeah.
So what you mean to tell me the biggest development deal in our city's history was written by the developer?
They're leading everything.
Everything.
They're leading and we're following.
That's
like some
unacceptable.
dumbass.
That's unacceptable.
All of these comments are going to culminate in a statement later on in this podcast that some people might not feel good about me making that statement, but the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
So I'll make that statement later on. Now, going back to what you just said, there was a gentleman interviewed on one of the TV stations, Dilly, if I remember his name, Tony Dilly or something like that.
I think I know who you're talking about.
He made a statement that this deal is so bad. We're basically paying for everything.
Yes.
Everything, hoping that possibly we would get something back. We might be better off going over to the casino, he said.
Oh, man.
We might be better off going over to the casino.
Wow. Wow.
That is a statement that touches me.
They might bring the casino to us. I mean, because they can't determine who they assign the contracts to.
Right.
There's 12 points. They call 12 points of the agreement that'll allow them to assign partials. And one of the conversations was that the reason they're doing it like this is to have uniformity among the development. And I said, ain't that's what code's for?
Right.
Ain't that's what building standards are for? What are we doing? You're talking in circles. I mean, it just feels to me like you're talking in circles. The reason you're saying you're doing a development like this is the same reason we should be doing it. We should be leading it, and we should be sharing the money or the profits with Raise HINES. Raise HINES should be our employer, not our partner.
Right.
We should be employing them. We should be contracting them to do this, telling the Raise, y'all gonna help pay for it and take the lead. We have the experience. This is a municipality that's been here, what, hundreds of years, 100 plus? You know, I mean, we are gonna do the infrastructure. We're gonna pay for the infrastructure. Why would we pay for the infrastructure and tell someone else to tell us what to do? Why would I give you the control of the development and then I go out and do the work?
That's the whole, and they know what they're working with. They know that we are out of our depth.
Yeah.
They know this.
Yeah.
They know this. That's why they're taking the lead and we're sitting back. We need to pull in professionals from somewhere that's used to these type of negotiations and get it done, because we're looking weak and
Russ, you got something?
Yeah, see, I said this last time when I was on this show with the Rays. These are the people who are these are the people who are controlling this shit.
Oh yeah.
Controlling.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and I said to you, if you think that in 20, I think it's 2027, 20, they're gonna be gone.
They're thinking about us.
They're gonna be gone. So why are you dealing with these people? They're gonna be gone, right?
And why wouldn't that be in the why wouldn't that be in the development agreement? Why wouldn't stipulating that you stay here be in this agreement.
Right.
This
You don't get to
agreement,
go.
this agreement is being took apart into several pieces
Mhm.
to it's kind of tax avoidance, right?
Mhm.
They're trying to not pay taxes on the stadium, and then they
Right.
want to do the development deal without going to a referendum.
Mhm.
So they're trying to break it in pieces,
Mhm.
but then when they talk about it, it's all in one.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you guys are doing this right in front of everybody.
Yes, sir.
We all see this. We
Right.
see you.
We're woke.
We see you.
We're woke
It's like,
now.
what are you doing? We see you. We hear you.
Right.
We hear you. And the problem is, I think that they have gotten such uniform support from a lot of the Black leaders,
Yes.
right? And there's been confusion about what's in the contract, what's in the proposal, and what's in the presentation. And I say that's divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Because now you have me talking to you about something that you ain't read.
Right.
Mhm.
You've read the presentation, you've seen the impact report,
Right.
but you haven't read the development agreement, which
Right.
doesn't have the Woodson in it. It doesn't have, and I want to say this about the Woodson because I'm a Woodson warrior. I support the Woodson, but we don't need to pay billions of dollars to billionaires
Mhm.
to build a Woodson museum.
Right. Thank you.
We can
Amen.
build the Woodson museum. We can
Amen.
do $50 million in intentional equity without the HINES Raise Group. They're using our money to do it anyway.
Mhm.
Right.
The dollars
Right.
they're using is or the city's dollars, the millions that has been pledged, because it's only pledged to the Woodson. If you have done donations and seen, a pledge is not the payment.
Right.
A pledge is saying that I will do it.
Mhm.
But if something should happen, I'm not
They can always back
I'm
out.
not contractually
Right.
bound to do it for you.
Let's talk about those two
Mhm.
things that they can back out on.
Mhm.
One, the Woodson group, the museum group,
Mhm.
they have to raise 30 to 40 million
Yeah.
other dollars, before the raise kick in
Yeah.
their 10 million.
Yes.
That's number one.
What if we did the raise deal like that?
Mhm.
What if we did the raise the same way they doing
Exactly.
Woodson?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're leading. That's what I'm
See?
saying.
Think
They're
about that.
leading.
Right here in our face. This is a Black development.
Mhm.
This is about they even at the beginning of this, they invoke the names of the gas plant residents.
Mhm.
They invoke the heritage. This is how they opened the meeting.
That's right. With Gwen Reese.
This is how they opened the meeting. But see, in my mind, that's how we're being used.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, Black trauma is very profitable.
Mhm.
People profit daily off of Black
Black trauma.
pain and
Mhm.
Black suffering,
Mhm.
right? The museum stands for Black heritage. We want to uplift it.
Right.
And so if you're saying you're uplifting it, I would be wrong to say I'm against your deal. So what they do is they prop that up in front of us
Mhm.
to it's like a force field.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of respect for Ms. Gwen. I worked with Ms. Gwen on several different projects. The most recent was the African American study on racism with the USF,
Correct.
right? So I've worked closely with her. I have no problem with her. I have no problem with the NAACP. I was a part of the executive board of the NAACP. I just was president of the Urban League Young Professionals. So I don't have no problem with the Urban League.
Right.
But I have a problem with this deal.
The deal.
Mhm.
I have a
That's
problem
what-
with this
what I'm
deal,
talking about.
and I have a problem with them propping up my leaders
Mhm.
and putting up the people that I love and respect in front of the bad deal.
Mhm.
Because now it seems like I'm talking to them.
And they should know better.
I mean,
They
should know better. They should know better.
But they don't know better because they got something that's keeping them from supposedly knowing better.
Mm.
Because the article about this discussion by Colleen Wright, Tampa Bay Times reporter, she specifically pointed out when she mentioned Gwen Reese's name, a paid contract.
Mhm.
She's a paid member of that team.
Oh, she should be
So
paid.
she's saying
They
what
rich.
they want her to say.
But they rich and they should be paying folk, and they need to be paying a lot more people because the way these people coming out against it, all of them need to be on payroll. All of them need to be paid consultants. And ain't nothing wrong with being a paid consultant if that's what you're doing for your living. But the problem is, the truth is, this deal is horrible.
Right.
This
Whether
deal
you're
is
a paid consultant,
Right.
whether
So
they
don't
pay
lie
you-
about it.
Yeah, well,
Don't be paid. Don't take the money to lie about it because we ain't dumb as hell.
Yeah.
We're not dumb
Yeah.
because they shitted on us on the first deal. They think they can do it again on the second deal.
Okay.
And that's what this is.
All right. All right. All right, moving right along. Brian Auld, president of the Rays, said, quote, "We know that not everyone loves every aspect of this deal. How could they? End of quote.
Yeah, what's there to
How
love?
could they? What's there to love?
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
Exactly. This is what so many of us have been saying.
Yeah.
This is what the Legal Women Voters survey pointed out. This is what the group No Home Run has been saying. This is what Faith in Florida has been saying. This is what some of our previous guests have been saying, such as Devron Gibbons, Dr. Manuel Sykes, Reverend Andy Oliver, former Raymond James executive Ron Diner.
Yeah, he was.
And Community Benefits Advisory Committee member Carrie Mueller. They have all been saying the same thing. This deal is not right. And Brian, you're right. How could we love this deal?
Yeah.
Moving right along here, significantly, former St. Petersburg administrator and expert developer, consultant, Alan DeLisle said, quote, "No deal is perfect, but no deal should be this bad for a city and its residents." Wow, wow, wow. What does it take to get the city officials to listen? What does it take?
I think they're listening, right? I've been watching. I've been a part of a lot of stuff. I've seen the timeline steady moving. I see our council members. Some of our council members, they're asking some of the most poignant questions that they've asked about it. So I think the tide is changing. It's not the home run that they were touting it as, because a lot of their marketing is saying they're here to stay. We're winning. So people in the Black community feel this deal is already done. I've had high-ranking executives and regional directors tell me this deal is done. In January, "Hey, Jabar, this deal is done. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Well, no." I was like, "No, it's a process. I mean, we have a charter and it says a couple things. Now, you may have the administration backing you, but that's not the silver bullet. It has to be more other things, and it's going to be a lot of votes. So it's going to be first one vote just to get into the deal. But then it's other votes that they're going to have to make. And that's where I'm worried, because of the language in the development agreement. It locks us in right then. Yep. And so every other vote got to be their way. And that language, it shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be able to write the language of our future.
Right. Exactly. They're the guests.
That's who that's why we got a mayor, a city council, administration, and a staff. I don't think no citizen is agreeing to hand over the language of the future of this city to the Raise HINES group. And I think that's what we are doing subliminally if we don't get a better deal.
Right. But the thing about it, as you've said earlier, we like baseball. We want the Rays to stay, but we want a better deal.
Yeah, right.
And that's the bottom line, a better deal. I don't think anybody is saying, Rays, go to hell, get out of here, go to Tampa, go to Toronto, wherever, Montreal.
I think we might have to say that for leverage.
Yeah,
like in negotiations,
at some point,
it's like, hey, baby, you can stay or you can go.
You can go. Right.
It's you and me, or it's you and it's me.
Okay. Right.
I mean,
whether you go or not.
And we have to get out of the romanticism of the thought of baseball. Baseball is a declining sport, right? And we have to be realists. They're struggling and they're trying to change the rules of the sport to get more people involved, while we're finna double down and make the biggest bet on that sport, on a declining sport.
And then they leave.
Jabar, you're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
You're hitting on all cylinders. True. Really appreciate it. I want to say, yeah, they probably are listening. And this is the biggest indicator for me, because there was supposed to be another meeting on the 23rd of May. A follow-up second meeting. This meeting that we're talking about dealt with the development around the stadium.
Yes.
The meeting on the 23rd was supposed to focus on the stadium.
Yes.
However, Ken Welch has already pushed that meeting back.
They're not prepared.
He said it. That's the point. They want to prepare better.
You should be
What
prepared.
you said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all right with it. Y'all push it back to 2025.
Yeah.
For real. Let's be real, because I know that when you have real serious negotiations, we're supposed to counter. I want to hear what the counters were. Like they say they made they had 800 units, and then they moved it to 12. Right. What was our counter? Or did it end when y'all said 12? What was our counter? We said infrastructure. Did we just volunteer to do the infrastructure? What was our counter? Did we have a counter offer? Is it in writing? Right. Okay, what about the naming rights, right? People don't know the SoFi Stadium in California naming rights in 2019 was bidded for $616 million just for the naming rights. And what we're finna do right now is transfer our naming rights without even getting any revenue.
I want to hold that thought because we had Rick Baker on this program.
Like a trademark.
And Rick Baker was suggesting
we're just gonna give it to him.
That we get some naming rights.
Right.
And if we don't,
in this deal.
and if we don't, where's the negotiation notes? Where did they negotiate for this? Where did we counter negotiate?
Know what Brian Auld said when Rick Baker said he wanted to change the name of the stadium?
It was a deal breaker.
It was a deal breaker.
Well, we can break a deal, buddy. See, that's what they don't want to play like that.
Right.
But you want to talk about what's a deal breaker? This contract is a deal breaker. This development agreement that was presented in front of the city of St. Petersburg is a deal breaker.
Oh my God. I haven't spoken to them directly. About their stance on the deal. But I've been told that all three mayors just prior to Ken Welch are strongly opposed to this deal, meaning Baker, Foster, and Christ.
You would have to have brain damage to agree to this. To be honest, it's ridiculous. Everybody's saying how bad this deal is. They professionals. They don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why they're out of their their area. They don't know what they're doing.
So did you? So because I'm thinking about this, right? So the Rays have had development rights for Tropicana Field for 30 years. So I don't know. Did they target this administration? Did they target the administration?
That's a good question, and I'm gonna tell you what I think. That's what I think. Did they target this administration, or did this administration come in with his pants down
and bent over?
Well, you go back and what he said. If you look at it, I keep telling you this. 2027, 2028, that should be it for the Rays. And if you go back, baseball has never brought any economic
impact
to us. Nothing.
Right.
But
that's any cities.
But I always used to tell my kids in teaching history, look at the subject. Rays, HINES, development. Read it. Who is developing this?
Good point. Good point. That question is strongly being asked. And I started off this podcast with the attorney that's sitting on city council asking that question. Who are we in agreement with? Who are we in disagreement with?
No one knows, no straight answer.
Carrie Mueller, who we just had, she was interviewed on one of the TV stations. She said, the fact that we're going to put this much money into a facility that doesn't attract the largest number of tourists doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
I don't think you're going to see economic benefits for the people in terms of this deal.
Wow. I mean,
will affordable housing actually be affordable? That's another question.
Well, Richie Floyd is hitting on that theme a lot, and he's hitting hard.
Right.
But the bottom line, keep in mind, Ken Welch said we're going to postpone the next meeting because we need to review the deal. If you're the mayor and you've been out there pushing this deal, strongly pushing this deal, but now at the last minute you want to review the deal. That doesn't make sense. And I'm going to tell you my strong feelings about it all. Mayor Welch, because he made a statement that this is the best deal for the city, suggests to me that he's incompetent.
He's incompetent.
He's negligent, and he's abusing his authority.
Don't let arrogance get in the way this is a bad deal.
Okay,
This is
we're
a
gonna
bad
have to
deal.
wrap it up. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate the enthusiasm in this discussion. Jabar,
Thank y'all
you
so
were
much.
awesome. You were awesome. You
Yeah,
were
man.
awesome.
Thank y'all so much.
I want to thank my two co-hosts. Job well done, as always. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast on 99.1 FM, The Bird, and ask that you do so each and every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. With all that being said, good evening.